Just Stats, Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morton, coming to you from lovely city of Atlanta, Georgia, as my shirt says here. I should just wear this shirt every single day because I love my city. Now, we are going to talk some basketball. We'll do like some rapid fire here, Eugene. We'll go about 10-ish minutes. We got about a few subjects here we're trying to get through. Sure. We'll go about 10 minutes on each one of these or so. And the first one I want to talk about is pretty intriguing because I think it's so true. Jalen Rose recently, I think this is probably like the last couple of weeks here, had warned U.S.-born players to work tirelessly, otherwise they will lose their NBA jobs. That's what he said. Now, let's see here with the actual quote, because it's pretty quick. Dear U.S.-born players, put in that work tirelessly and show discipline, otherwise NBA jobs are becoming extinct. The U.S.-born basketball players want to be exact there. Currently, the NBA roster consists of 582 players, but 438 being U.S.-born players and 144 being international players. That's about roughly 30%. It's not how it used to be if anybody's old like I am.
Nope.
And you know what the NBA used to look like. That's not what it used to look like. You know what I mean? It was not a situation where you had a lot of international players. And I feel like that's still some of the barriers that a lot of people are going to face. Now, I remember recently we did this they had the conversation with Luka and who was going to be the face of the league and when it was going to happen and other stuff like that. And I think the U.S. is starved for a player to be a U.S. player to be that face. Yeah. So I feel like you're going to have Luka kind of going up against that, despite the fact that he's just destroying folks. Like if you look at some of the lists that Luka's already on, I remember having this conversation with you a couple of years ago, and I was telling you, like, man, I keep looking at these lists, and this man is already on this list like 4 years into the league. Like I'm seeing him on too many of these lists, seeing the same guy on too many of these lists, and it was him. It was Luka. Himothy, as the kids say. And you know, it's not just Luka. Let's go look at the past MVPs. We have to look at Giannis.
Yep.
Embiid. Jokic. We got to go back to what? Steph Curry? Is Steph Curry the last U.S.-born MVP?
I think player? You're right. That's I can't think of anybody past him, but yeah.
So I'm going to analyze this on the ins and outs, coming into the league, and then kind of what you are awards given at the end of the seasons, and kind of how the tide is turning.
Yep.
So this year we have the opportunity for Sar to go number one. And it would be, I think, the first time it's two French players. So Wemby last year, number one. Sarr, number one this year. Foreign-born. I think they're both French. Yep. And there's some other guys, noise up there at the top of that list, but there's about 3 to 4 foreign-born players that are projected to go in the top like 5 or 6 picks. So it's a lot of guys out here. That's not how it used to be for people who have been watching the NBA for a long time. We were so used to being in the Olympics and going and blowing guys out by 60. Really, these guys were reading newspapers at the game, having coffee, taking pictures and stuff like that, and still blowing teams out by 30 or 40. Right. If you've watched international basketball over the last few years, you know that has changed. With some of the better teams, we're not even winning all the time like we were. We took it for granted that we're just be blowing through Olympics. We expected this run, Olympic basketball run and American basketball run to last like 100 years. I don't think anybody thought it was going to end. When you were in the Dream Team days and they're just blowing folks out, you're thinking this is just American basketball. We're just superior because we're Americans, right? We feel like we're superior in everything.
Absolutely.
So this is just yet another thing that we felt like superior. But going back to my going ins and going outs, I just talked about the coming in. We're looking at the top of these drafts with a lot of international players now that are at least in the top 10, and they're in the lottery. Now, let's take a look at the going out. This past year, the top 3 finalists for MVP were all international players. Jokic, who won, SGA, who's from Canada, Luka from Slovenia. Those were our top 3 players at the end of the season. So the top guy we drafted in the season was a French player.
Yep.
The players that we look at the end of the season for one of the most prestigious awards, I would say, of course, the finals chip is going to be the ultimate reward. But individual player award MVP has gone to international guys.
Yep.
You know, and even then you're kind of arguing between them. Is it Jokic or Embiid? Is it SGA or Jokic?
Yeah.
Is it going to be Giannis this time? Is Luka got a shot? Like these are all guys that are all international guys even being talked about in this conversation right now, right?
Right.
So I think that the world is starved for from the lovely city of Metro Atlanta. I'm not sure where Ann is from, but we're always rooting for our Metro Atlanta guys. So I do. We'll hope that he will eventually get there, but he has to play and get there. There's some improvement that needs to be made on Ant's side. He's only 22, right. So I do think that he has an opportunity to get there. But let's not poo-poo what's going on with these other guys right now. They're dominating.
Right.
They're dominating. Right. You can add Wemby to the list, right? He's just a rookie.
He's going to be up there.
He's dominating. He's a dominating rookie, and he's showing that he can dominate in this league. So is it time for these players to start kind of I would say maybe paying more attention, because I feel like the players themselves, these are fan conversations. A lot of times the players respect these other guys. They're players who watch real basketball. I think Pat Bev had brought this up on his podcast. Players who really watch basketball have been watching that international game. If you're a fan of basketball, not just a fan of players and a fan of the NBA, if you're a fan of the game, then you've already respected the international game. You've already seen it coming. It ain't a surprise to you.
Yeah, it's not a surprise.
What are your thoughts here on Jalen's comments, and do you agree with him?
I mean, yeah, it's we don't have to agree. Like you laid out the blueprint. It's right there in front of you. The MVP voting. Wemby is gonna be in the MVP conversation in the next few years.
I think so too.
I mean, it's gonna be a given.
He's gonna get there.
The way he's playing.
Don't let Giannis come back too, right? And Giannis is right back in there. And if Bede stays healthy, and Bede's back in there again.
Yeah. So you got those top guys. I mean, here's the thing too. We were talking about the top, given like the belt. Let's just say this. I know we're talking about the finals, but just say the finals go 7 games and Boston edges Dallas out. But Luka just goes out of his mind. It goes 30, 10, and 10 whole time. You can't tell me that the conversation for greatest best player doesn't start with him next year, even if Boston beats him, because it's going to be probably more.
If he continues those numbers that he's been putting up, if he continues on that clip, for sure, right?
Yeah. So I there's nothing to disagree with. I mean, the international game, because like you said, you can watch the Olympics now and go, oh wow, they're playing against SGA this game, and they've got some other guys. And, oh, they've got this guy from this NBA team. Like they've got some players. It's like not everyone's even the stars, even like the bench guys or your guys filling out the bench or your starting 5 are not all not American born players. So it's happening. You just got to buckle up and here we go.
How long do you think it will take before international players start to get some of that respect? Now, LeBron James and himself, a lot of these guys who play in the league have always given these guys their flowers. So I'm not talking about the players themselves. I feel like this is more of like a fan situation. How long do you think before fans feel like a guy like a Luka Jokic can be the face of the league? Because it feels like they're going to hit a glass ceiling there to a certain degree, because America just wants American-born players. They want guys who are dunking on folks. Like, even if you aren't American-born, at least if you get a Giannis, he's going to dunk on you. And we like to see that. We like to see guys who are just out here just destroying folks. When do you ever feel like that the international game will ever be palatable enough to Americans where they start giving these guys the flowers the same way that their colleagues do? Because they don't seem to have any problems from their colleagues. LeBron and all of them tend to LeBron and some of the guys I've seen tend to give those flowers because they're more versed in the game. They know the actual game.
Right. It's crazy because Joker, for whatever reason, still gets killed. And I don't understand why. He's like been the best player.
He'll just give you like 38, 10, and 12, and then he'll be like, whatever.
Right.
Man.
I mean, I guess
every excuse in the world comes out.
Yeah, every excuse comes out for him. I mean, you could definitely hear the shifting with Luka, especially this series. So, I mean, maybe
he's been playing pro since he was 16. By the way,
right. So
pro basketball since the guy was 16, and we just decided we just didn't want him here. I guess that just wasn't enough.
That's another episode. I don't want to get right.
You got signed at 13 by Real Madrid. It's not enough, kid. We need to see more from you. And then here we go.
I mean, maybe more. I don't know. I say access, but I feel like we all have the same access to the international. Like you and I were sending when we knew about Luka before Luka, right? You and I were sending clips to each other. Instagram. We knew about him way before. So, I guess maybe it's gonna. I hate to be like a snob and like, well, maybe it's going to take the casual fan to catch on. And maybe this is it, because maybe the casual fan doesn't watch as much as we do, right? So maybe seeing, oh, it's Luka guy in the NBA finals, maybe that'll like wakes people up.
I hope so, man, because these are some great players. And if nothing else, we need to be competitive and we need to be aware of the threat. And this is that's the second thing I'm not as worried about, because I feel like a lot of the best players I see who really watch the game have respected, even Kobe. Kobe respected the international game. Like, there are a lot of these players have respected the international game for a long time. If you've been listening to these players talk, they have always given flowers to these international superstars.
Yeah.
Because they love the actual game. There's a big difference between loving basketball and loving the NBA.
Right. Correct.
And maybe one day people who will really like basketball will be able to kind of talk about what's going on over there. And I'm not really worried about the American players catching up, because I feel like they kind of get it, the players themselves, and they're going to get better. They're going to get better. It's just the international players are also getting better. So that's as Correct. You saw with Wemby.
Right. Right. Exactly.
They're coming out beasts. So we'll see. And we'll see a little bit more of the Olympics too. Hopefully America goes in there and dominates. We'll see what happens there. Let's talk about the finals here a little bit. And we'll talk about let's talk about storylines. Okay.
What a fantastic picture.
What are the biggest storylines for the 2024 NBA Finals? Is it Kyrie returning to Boston? Is it Porzingis playing his old team? Is it Luka trying to go ahead and get his flowers? Is it Boston getting over the hump finally? What is the biggest storyline for you here, Eugene?
Boston. I really do. I mean, this is
getting over the hump.
Getting over the hump. I mean,
okay.
they're favored to win this obviously the series, and they pretty much have the two best wings, right? To could throw at Luka, and they have two of the best. They have the best point guard, the best defensive point guard. It just hands down, and Drew Holiday, and obviously Porzingis is the X factor. I know they're tight-lipped, but I mean, I'd be shocked if he doesn't play.
He needs to play, bro.
He needs to play.
In my opinion, he needs to play. Like, I don't give Boston the same chance without him.
No. I mean, I give them. I still think they could win, but it's going to be a lot tighter if you don't have that extra rim protection with Porzingis there. So, but that to me is the biggest one. What about you?
I want to say probably the same thing, only because of how close they've been knocking on the door. I'm rooting for Boston in this series. It's hard to pick these kind of games because I am personally a guy who hates picking teams if I feel that both have a legit shot at winning. And then you just got to play the games. This isn't a situation where you got the Pacers playing up against Boston and nobody giving them a prayer. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they actually play better in the games, but that would have been the only shock. The only shock of the whole playoffs for me would have been the Indiana Pacers coming out of the East. All those teams that were playing in the West, those top 3-4 teams, I could have seen any of them coming out of the West. I could have seen Minnesota coming out, Denver coming out, OKC coming out, like as a young team. Maybe OKC would have been the most surprising because of their youth, but not surprising because of their record. I mean, they were number one team. Are you that surprised if the number one seed comes out of the West? It's not absolutely super shocking. So all those West teams weren't surprising because they have the talent.
Yeah.
Boston just seems so far and away more or better than the Eastern teams that it would have been shocking for Boston not to come out of the East. So we kind of here. Now I want to see, for two reasons. My guy, Jalen Brown, went to my high school, number 7 there, Wheeler High School. We're at Georgia. Jalen Brown, I would love to see him come out a champion here. So that's my Atlanta bias, my Metro Atlanta bias showing that I just want to root for every Atlanta thing I ever see in life. I'm rooting for. And then any Georgia. If you just even are from Georgia, I'm going to take that also. You're a Georgia player. I'm rooting for you.
I'm rooting for you.
No matter what team you play on, I'm rooting for you. So I'm rooting for my Georgia guy, Jalen Brown, to come out here with a W. But I'm also rooting for greatness to be crowned as greatness. And this Boston team has been great.
Yeah.
5, they've had like several conference finals. I think Jason Tatum's been in the league, 6-7 years, and has only not been to the playoffs, or to the conference finals twice.
Yeah.
He's been to the conference final most of the years that he has existed in the league, which is phenomenal. And he gets killed. They killed Jason Tatum. They treat the guy like he's a bum or something. Let me see you take a team to this many conference finals and a couple of finals appearances in this young of a career. Let's see you actually go out there and do it with all the talkers out there who just like to talk up stats. So I'm rooting for, I am rooting for Boston to have that crown. And after that, I will tell you, I will definitely, after Boston gets that out of the way, if they happen to get out of the way, and this is kind of one of the reasons why I'm not super emotionally tied to an outcome here.
No.
I'm going to be rooting for Kyrie and Luka to get a chip. I feel like they've done everything they're supposed to do. Kyrie went to Dallas. Wasn't the same. We killed Kyrie when he was in Brooklyn. He was just a complete distraction, and we killed him. So it's only natural that now when he comes back here, he's been model citizen here in Dallas. He's been the elder statesman, so to speak, at the ripe age of 29, I think he is. And it seems like he comes in with all these kids, and it seems like he's settled into this role. He's been in games like this before. He's already won a chip. So I'm rooting for Kyrie to come here to Dallas and win another chip. And I'm rooting for Luka to just have that icing on the cake for a great player that I really wish players like Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, players like that had. I really wish that chip was there for them, just so you know how good those players really were. Their names don't really get mentioned a lot when you talk about top players, but if you're a basketball fan, Charles Barkley was that guy, and so was Karl Malone. I'm not even a Jazz Karl Malone fan, but he was a great basketball player. And these guys, Jordan kind of took that from them because they played in a certain era, the same way that LeBron has ended a lot of careers. If you were coming out the East for a long period of time there, if LeBron wasn't on your team, it didn't matter that you weren't coming out of the East. You can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but LeBron is going to end that for you most of the time.
Absolutely.
And that's what happened with Jordan. So you kind of root for, at least I would say I root for a lot of these players of this type to get their flowers, so to speak, to come out and get that validation for your career, which only a championship can give you. We had looked at some stats here with Luka about how great he has been on this ascension. So he would need a chip. He needs a chip, right? Like I can't, despite how good you may be and as good as he has been up to this point, which has been box office, he's going to need a chip for me to mention you in the same sentence as these other guys. No chip,
like
I
Joker.
can't.
It's like Joker stats, right?
Yeah, if Joker had no chip, then it's you're great. Joker's one of the best passing big man I've ever seen, by the way.
Yeah.
But without a chip, it's not the same guy. So that's where I'm kind of rooting here. That's why I'm not really, I'm not going to be sad if either one of these teams win. I definitely want my guy, Jaylen Brown, to get that chip. And I want Boston because what a team they have been. What a team they've been. And they've been right there. I'm rooting for them to kind of get over the hump. I think they're the betting favorite too. So I remember when Dallas got through here and I was like, hey, I think Boston, because I was picking the winner of the Minnesota Nuggets series to come out the West. That was my pick.
That was a lot of people's picks, right?
And I was going to have them winning the chip. But when Dallas came out, I remember texting some friends and saying, wait, Boston's got a chance to win. I like this matchup is not horrible for Boston. Like Boston's got a chance to win it, to go out and win a chip here. And it'll be a great series. It's just great to watch great players play. Guys will be out there. I hope Porzingis is out there, and I hope for a good, healthy finals for both these teams. What's the last word for you there, Mr. Morton?
I think you nailed it. I don't know what else I could follow up with there. I just want, like you said, I want a competitive series. I don't want gentleman sweep. I don't want sweep, but I don't think it will be. I think it's going 7. And like I said, I'm right there with you. I don't have a rooting interest. Maybe I just want to see Boston. I just kind of want to stop hearing the hate on Jason Tatum. Like he's not a great
see them
player.
Finally get that validation, so to speak, right?
Get the validation, yeah. But again, if Kyrie and Luka did it, I would not be sad about that either. So yeah, I'm right there with you.
All right. Well, let's talk here about our guy Trae Young a little bit here. And we'll talk more about Trae as the season goes on. We'll definitely talk more about him. But people have been asking this question over and over again. I'm gonna show you the fadeaway world. The fadeaway world's got like several like graphics already. This is when you're getting the treatment, when you got a lot of graphics on. Let's go to some of those. Look at that. I would love that right there, by the way. I would love that. If you're Boston, no way in hell. If you're Boston, do you make this trade?
No, because you already have 2 point guards. Why would you get another one? I mean,
I'm not trading Jaylen Brown for anyone. I'm just not. I'm not trading Jaylen Brown. I was saying, I only see Jaylen. Is that Jaylen Brown? I see his number. Yeah, like that's definitely not number 7. But yeah, it's no. If I'm the Celtics, I don't do this.
No.
And if I'm Atlanta, I would do this in a heartbeat. But if I would love to have this happen. But I'm on the actually do not. So let's talk about the general subject.
Sure.
Do we trade Trae? Now, I told you a long time ago that in his coming years, Trae, if we keep bumping our head against the wall and we got a guy here who is making all this money and we're not getting over the hump, maybe you kind of start to embrace a rebuild and you look at it like that.
Sure.
Or at least that's how I did.
Yeah.
But my feelings shifted when we got the number 1 pick because I'm like, wait a second. Now, let's see if we end up drafting. Let's just say Sar or one of these big guys is a pick. I think there's Sar and there's a Rocher, or I don't know how to say his last name. Another Frenchman with a pretty good skill set. But these guys I've heard banted as 1 and 2. But they're both French guys, both bigs. And I think that pairs well with Trae. And that's why I would think that I've been telling you a long time ago. I felt like he'd be great with a Wemby type player. Like he'd be great with a Giannis type player. Like he'd be great with somebody who was in that front court who could be amazing, catch those lobs, right? It'd be lob city. Catch those lobs. We already know Trae's a gifted passer. I just don't know if Trae can be the best number 1 option on a team due to his size and the defensive liability that his size kind of gives him. You know, people are just going to shoot over you. But he can still be a guy on a championship team. I will still stand by that. You know how much I hate the Luka situation. You know how much I wish that we had taken Luka. But that does not mean I'm ready to just give away Trae. It doesn't mean that Trae is not an all-star, even though he's had struggled kind of getting voted into an all-star game. The guy can give you on any given night 28 and 10. Are you kidding me? No, you want that on your team. I just don't know if I want it on my team as number 1 option. And then it's presently constructed, it's just not working out. And when you're paying a guy the kind of money we're paying him, then it is hard to argue with the lack of results we're getting. We're just not getting the results for the amount of money being paid. So that's more so that type of situation for me than it is a Trae Young type situation, because that guy is still a guy. And some of the disrespectful trades that I've seen out here have been totally disrespectful. I'm not trading Trae around for a bunch of guys. No, this guy is an absolute box office guy. He can give you 28 and 10. He can handle the scoring for you. We already know that he can facilitate. He can be pass first if he has the guys on his team. Now, I think that right now, with us having that number 1 pick, I don't want to trade him. And I don't want to trade him until the trade deadline. I want to see how it works. What if it works out? What if we get these other guys and then it's a situation where they start to gel, things start to go well? Like, why would you trade him before you even see what it looks like on the court? And I know that some people thought to trade him as soon as we got the number 1 pick, right? Some people are like, oh, well, we're just going to build around the number 1 pick. Oh, no, guys. We're not going to do that because we don't know who the hell this guy is at number 1. We don't know what he's going to be. And I'm not ready to just say that he's better than Trae. And I think Trae has at least earned that. Remember that 28 and 10 number I showed you? We don't know that any of these guys can get those kind of numbers. We don't know that none of these guys should just be crowned as being better than Trae, in my opinion, despite all the Trae hate that he does get. I think that we should have players come in here, see what the guy is actually going to be like, the team is going to be like together. And then if we got to trade Trae, we get a decent trade package for him. We give him the star treatment. We're not just trading him for a bunch of guys. What are your thoughts on trading Trae? And I'm going to cycle through all because it's a bunch of them here, man. Hold on, let me show you.
Sure. No,
look at that. Yeah. Fadeaway world. They're going crazy. Oh, what about that? You like that? Trae's been everywhere. Trae's everywhere right now. Yeah. Trae is getting who are you going to be traded to treatment? You know what I mean? Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, I mean, first we got to look at the record, right? So he goes out injured and DeJounte takes over and pretty much does exactly the same thing that Trae does, right? The record was the exact, he was 500 when he left. They're 500 when he came back. So you got to look at that. I agree with you. Don't give him away. But this number 1 pick that we're getting, it's almost like you're starting at number 10 with the number 1 pick, from what I keep hearing, right, from the experts. So it's hard to build around.
When you say that, can you explain that for the audience? Because you say starting at number 10. So, is that because you don't feel like he would be number 1 in another draft?
Yeah, right. So the talent level that they're saying is like from past drafts, you feel like you're starting at the number 10 draft. So versus number 1. So there's no hype in this draft.
Because there's no Wemby type player, right?
Correct.
There's no guy. But
No.
even in a lot of those drafts, it's only 2 or 3 guys. Like they're acting as if every draft has 30 guys. No, you're going to get a few. And another thing too with that I really don't like, Eugene, is that these guys don't know how good this draft is going to be till after it.
Still right.
Like, you guys are lying, man. You don't know who is going to be. There's going to be somebody who comes out of this draft that's going to be a guy, bro.
There's always there's going to be some guys. There'll be some role player guys. But I mean, you can already see like all the teams now. Like you saw today where New Orleans was like, nope, LA, you can have your pick this year. We'll take your pick next year, you know. So everyone's already kind of gearing like, nah, we're okay. So, but I'm with you. I don't want to give him away. I'm totally with you because there's one thing that we haven't had in Atlanta with Trae Young is his confidence. The guy is not scared. When's the last time besides Dominique Wilkins that you can remember that we had a guy in a Hawks uniform that was not scared to take that last shot? So it's the only thing it's always gonna play him. When you and I will always have this conversation about him is his decision making, and he's a winning player. If he could just, and I don't think the things are gonna change. You kind of how are you?
You don't think he can become a winning player with a new guy? Maybe
I don't know. Here's the thing: we put different players around him. We put different coaching staff around him, and he's still like he'll have glimpses, right? You'll see glimpses like, oh, maybe he's turned that corner, but then he just goes back to the same Trae Young. So it's hard for me to invest. Like we keep giving him things that he wants or things that we think he needs, and he still kind of is underwhelming. And I mean, yeah, you're right. He's an all-star. He does do 20 and 10, but sometimes his shot selection, his decision making.
Yeah, his efficiency is not great. At times, sure.
That's my only thing. And it's just I've just gone to games where he's been in the games and it's exciting, it's great, but I've also seen games where he's not there, and there's ball movement, and it looks like they're cheering for each other, they're playing for each other. When he's on the court, you just see the different body language. I don't know how many times I've seen him roll to his left, and Murray's right there on his left, and they're both in the corner together, and I don't understand why that is. Is it Murray making the wrong decision to be in the wrong spot? Is it Trae not noticing, not realizing?
Are there plays being called? Is it coaching too?
Right, exactly. That's the thing.
Going on here?
Exactly. Could be that too. So, but it just happens a lot. So, listen, I have 2 Trae Young shirts. He's a phenomenal player. I just don't know if we're ever going to get to that winning guy that we hope we would get. And again, I don't want to give him away. I'm like you. I don't want Bagley. I don't want who's New Orleans? Ingram. I don't want Ingram. It's like I don't want these guys. What am I getting from Toronto? Do I want Miami? Am I getting
Toronto's on a couple of these? If I go here, Toronto's made it somehow on both these. Really loves trading them to Toronto. You know,
right? Am I getting Tyler Hero? Because I don't really want that from Miami. I mean, what am I? And am I getting Giddey from Oklahoma? The Giddey?
No.
Right?
No. Oh my God, no, bro. Like, and that's no knock on them, but they're just not Trae.
Right.
Like, the as much as I get. And I beat this drum myself about Trae not being Luka, and I beat that drum for years and years and years, and I will continue to do so. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean he's a bum. Luka's just special. That doesn't mean that Trae is not a bum. Trae is a excellent basketball player,
right?
And he's worthy of max money. If you're going to give max money out, 28 and 10 should get you damn max money. You know what I mean? If anything, gonna get it for you. You know what I mean? I think 28 and 10 qualifies. Not to say that's what he averages, but we know that he can. If Trae had a line like 28 and 10, you're not shocked. You're not looking at that line like, oh my God, Trae had 28 and 10 today. Like, this is a one-off. No, it can happen.
Right.
So the fact that that's a possibility for this guy, it definitely equates to why he gets paid the money he gets paid. That being said, it doesn't always mean that you don't have a certain team chemistry. You don't need another piece. Jordan needed another piece. Everybody needed another piece.
Everyone needs a second guy.
You know what I mean? So I like the team right now. If we run out there, JJ, got Jalen Johnson, right? We run Jalen Johnson out there, DeJounte out there, Trae out there. We get one of these Frenchmen here, whether it's Sarr or the other guy, Russia Share. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering his name. But whether the Sarr, one of those guys, I like that team. I like the way that team looks, at least on paper. Who knows if it'll work out? But why would I get guys and then give away a star.
Right.
Because that's what you're telling me is that you still feel like you're so far away. You don't give away stars unless you feel like you're far away, right? You're not just going to give a guy away unless he is disgruntled and wants to leave. That's a whole different situation. That's the only reason KD got out of Brooklyn and some of these other teams is that she just didn't want to stay there.
Yeah.
He didn't want to stay. So I don't feel like you give a guy away unless the guy is disgruntled. You feel like he's a locker room, a bad locker room guy. You kind of got to get him out of town. I'm not ready with Trae yet to give him away. Not unless this comes to pass. If this somehow comes to pass, absolutely.
Right.
But no. But this is the kind of trade I'm looking for. I'm not necessarily saying I want Jason Tatum. I don't need your Batman for him, but I need your second guy because Jaylen Brown would be a Batman on another team. So it's like he wouldn't be the Robin. So I'm looking for guys like that. I need another because Trae, even if he's like maybe he's Batman on Batman's off days, he's not necessarily all the way a Robin to me. You know what I mean? Trae can be close to that 1A type of player with other guys around him. And I think that we have an opportunity to draft the other guys around him. Why then we would just blow our team up is not something that I understand. But I think there are people who are definitely in the trade crowd. And I'm going to give you the last word there, Mr. Morton.
Yeah, like I'm just gonna second what you. I'm gonna piggyback what you said. I don't like. I'm all. If we trade him, I want it to be for something like you said. I want something back, and I don't want just draft picks. I want guys that can
correct,
especially
something that can make us win now.
Right, because we have a roster, and we should be in that. We should be kind of in that 4 through 6 conversation, and going. Okay, what's the next piece that's going to get us to those top 3 seeds, right? But I don't want to just like, I would love to get those San Antonio picks back, but I want more than just that. And I'm glad we never pulled the I know that D'Angelo Russell talk was going on last year. That's just garbage. I don't want D'Angelo Russell.
No.
You know,
I saw that being floated with the Lakers, right? And I'm looking at their roster. With some of these rosters, I'm looking at like who would I take off your team and give you Trae?
Yeah.
I'm not going to give away $1 and get 4 quarters. It doesn't work in the NBA. Whatever team got the $1 is always looked at as a team that won the trade.
Yeah.
Now there are certain trades that happen that you're like, great. There are great trades that happen. There are things that kind of work out for both teams. Brunson was able to go and do his own thing. And I think it was very dumb that the Mavs let him walk out of there for the amount of money he was asking for. They should have kept him. But they're in the finals now. Brunson was 2nd seed where he's at. He's the number 1 guy there.
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes things work out for all parties, right? But unless I got something like that, no, I need a star. And you look at what's going on in the NBA finals right now. Stars. You need some stars there.
Need stars.
Do you think that a trade materializes this summer? What would you do? Your GM Morton, what would you do? Do you trade him?
I like your decision unless somebody offers me something, but I just don't. What I'm seeing right now, I mean, Paul George is a free agent, but I would want to just sign Paul George and like get my rest of my bench because his injury history. I don't like what else is out there. I'm like you. I'd rather just let's play out the season, draft one of those 2 guys. And I mean, because again, he has 2 years left in the contract. We don't have to get jumpy now. We can wait till the trade deadline and still get some good return for him.
This is Just the Stats. Reggie Johnson and Eugene Morton. Check us out. Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, as well as TikTok, YouTube, and I guess other places. I don't really know how to say that one right there. But just check us out.
Just check us out. Find us somewhere.
Just check us out.